My dear friends, welcome back. Today, I want to discuss a significant topic. I think this will be useful for the students of history. This is something from history of India, and this is something from history of Indian education. Advantages of European invasion in India. All of you might have heard that Europeans ruled India for centuries, especially Britishers. They ruled India for 2 centuries. Though they were there, they had been there since 600,000 AD onwards. They captured the full power in India in 1857 after defeating Mughal kings in Plassey War. So they started ruling in India. And it's a fact that Englishmen almost destroyed the traditional culture and treasures of India. It's to be admitted that they contribute to build a modern India. You might have heard speeches of Since Sxteen Hundred A.D, and he always criticizes Britishers for destroying our culture, for stealing some precious items from our country and bringing them to Europe. Yes, right. They destroyed us. They tortured Indians during their power. They insulted Indians. They made the life of Indians more pathetic and miserable. Yes, all these are right. All these are facts. But at the same time, if you are impartial, if you analyze history by looking at the facts, then you cannot help admitting that for building a modern India, Britishers contributed lots of things. And in this video, I'm going to discuss the things contributed by Britishers for building a modern India. They brought English education to India. This is something important for modernists. You may be a traditionalist and you may be against English education, but leave that aside. But for the modernists, it was some greatest contribution by Britishers. Because look at this sentence. The Europeans might have been told later that they shouldn't have provided English education to Indians who fought against them as a single mind after getting a common language for communicating with each other. India is a country of different states, different languages. And by teaching them English, a common language, Indians started communicating with each other. Actually, it acted as a link language for the people of different states. They started contacting with others. They started delivering speeches in English. And people started realizing the concepts of freedom fighting by listening to the speeches of different leaders, great leaders, our national leaders. So it was one of the greatest contributions of Britishers. Now, if you look at Indians are there all over the world. You can see Indians in America, you can see Indians in England, you can see Indians in Australia, you can see Indians in Austria, you can see Indians in Sweden, you can see Indians in Canada. And they are working there as computer engineers, as teachers, as businessmen. And this is possible only because they have got some communication power in English language. So it was One of the greatest contributions offered by Britishers in India. We cannot deny that. Then they introduced modern science in India. For a modernist, again, this is one of the most important contributions by Britishers. You cannot deny that. Actually, it is a modernist belief that India is a country which had been controlled and moved by some superstitious beliefs for centuries. So it was a miraculous thing that such a country became extremely modern within a couple of centuries. Though there are people who are keeping such superstitious beliefs still now, you can see rapid changes. You can see wonderful changes. You can see unbelievable changes in a country which had been under some superstitious beliefs and such things for thousands of years. And you cannot reject the role of Britishers in this regard. They brought modern science and they started teaching science subjects in educational institutions. And people started becoming scientific. People started thinking about different items on the basis of modern science. And this is another contribution of British law, another advantage of British law in India. Then they introduced democratic principles. India became a democratic country after the emergence of Britishers, after the arrival of Britishers. And now India is the largest democratic nation in the world, in any sense of definition and description. In any sense, in any type of analyzing, India is the largest democratic country. Though nowadays some people believe that it has lost its democratic image, still it is the largest democratic in the world. Most of the people in this world see India as the symbol of democracy. Its elections, its rules and regulations, its constitution, everything is a part of democracy. Can you deny the role of Britishers in bringing democracy in India? Never. Maybe we are hating them. Maybe we are keeping some negative attitude towards them because they tortured our ancestors. But still, we cannot deny this fact. They brought democracy to India. India was a country where different regions were ruled by different kings and lords. They were fighting against each other. There was no feeling such as we are Indians, national integration. So they brought democracy to our country. So it's a contribution. It's one of the greatest contributions offered by British rule in India. Then birth and development of nationalism. As I told, there were different regions, different small countries, and they were being ruled by kings. They were fighting with each other for extending their kingdom, widening their kingdom. There was no such feeling like Indians. But after the arrival of Britishers, we started learning English language. We started communicating with others in our country. We started learning about different types of freedom fighting events in the world. And we started reading some poems written by people like W.B. Yeats. And we started knowing about the feeling of patriotism, nationalism. We started thinking that we are Indians. And again, this is a contribution of British rule in India. The knowledge of the freedom struggling and fighting in different countries were collected by Indians. And they started reading articles in English. And this gave birth to national integration and national feeling in the minds of Indians. We cannot deny that. Though they distorted us, though they controlled us, this is one of the greatest contributions of advantages of British rule in India. Then they brought thousands of new professions into India. We started knowing about different professions, such as profession of a doctor, engineer, clerks, etc. Actually, we hadn't heard about such posts. So modern education opened a large world of careers, and Indians started in getting appointed in different types of force. They started to become policemen, they started to become engineers, they started to become doctors. And again, this is one of the greatest advantages brought by British rule or European rule in India. Then eradication of social anarchies. The new approaches and awareness influenced the social life of Indians a lot, and social anarchies like child marriage, sati, untouchability, etc. were eradicated the ceaseless efforts rendered by leaders like Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Yeshwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Indians got education. They started reading articles, they started reading different books, and that they started thinking about against the social anarchy, social evils, and social reformation started. Social reformers such as Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Yeshwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Ayyangali, Swami Vivekananda, Sri Narayana Guru, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, etc. They were given birth, and they started thinking against untouchability, against child marriage, against the superstitious things, against the social evils. And for a modernist, this is one of the greatest contributions rendered by Britishers. Then introduce European literature. So there came a synthesis between the Eastern literature and European literature. The style and themes of European writers inspired the Indians a lot. And they started writing different sorts of literary pieces on patriotism and related themes, which ultimately played a vital role in freedom fighting. Now, a number of Indian writers are admired and honored by people of different nations too. See, how many Indian writers have got different awards, Booker Prizes, and such things for literature. And this is again a contribution of Britishers. We started knowing about the new styles of writing, new themes, new modes of writing, new genres of writing. We started writing something in an international standard, and we started getting awards. Look at Rabindranath Tagore. He was awarded Nobel Prize, the most prestigious international award for his Gitanjali. Actually, his Gitanjali was translated into English and it was attacked by Europeans and it was nominated for Nobel Prize and he was awarded Nobel Prize in 1913 for Gitanjali. So introduction of European literature to Indians is another contribution of Britishers in India. And is another advantage of European rule or British invasion in India. Then broad knowledge of modern movements. They made us know things such as Reformation, Renaissance, industrialization, privatization. All these movements, these are some international movements, and we started knowing about international movements. And such international movements started influencing our country, our life. And we started becoming more modern and modern, more and more modern. And all these things have changed our country a lot. And again, this is another contribution of British invasion in India. Then they introduced modern administration. And such modern administration trends brought lots of changes in India. And it created thousands of clerical posts and which demanded more educated hands. So it created mass opportunity for mass education. So nowadays different official posts are there. And they introduced modern administration. So now we have got a systematic administration style in a hierarchical order. And we have become highly modern in the case of administration. Now you can see in most of the fields, now India has got e-governance. Though this e-governance is the contribution of different governments after getting independence, the base for this systematic governance was founded by Britishers. You cannot deny that. Maybe you are a patriot, maybe you are a nationalist, maybe you are hating Britishers for their colonial imperialism in our country. But if you have to tell the truth, you cannot deny these contributions. Then spread modernization in all walks of life. They spread modernization in all walks of life. They brought European dress code, food habit, agriculture, transportation, education, literature, attitude, everything. So in short, you can tell that the most important contribution of Britishers in India is they brought or they spread modernization in all walks of life, in all fields of life, in personal life, in professional life, in family life, in everything. And if you are a traditionalist, actually, you will not be seeing all these things an advantage. But for a modernist, for a modern man, for a modern person, all these are advantages. And another thing is that they established railway. And now Indian Railway is the world's biggest public sector. Yes, the world's largest public sector is Indian Railway. And this Indian Railway was a birthchild of Britishers because they established railway in India. Actually, they established railway in India for their advantage. for carrying their army people, for carrying their weapons from one region to another region, for carrying the goods for their army people from one region to another region, and for bringing prisoners, Indian prisoners, from one region to another region. Yes, all these are right, but it became a bliss for Indians. It has got the largest public sector now, Indian Railways. So again, it's a contribution. And these are some advantages of the European invasion, especially the British invasion in India. If you are a modern man, you cannot deny all these things. There are some negative impacts. I'll be talking about the negative impacts of European invasion or British rule in India in another video. Till then, have a nice day. Thank you very much.